Hello everyone, my name is Cesar Ferrer, and in this video I will go over how this DC mortar works and the components of this mortar. To start, the name of this homemade DC mortar is Fred because it looks like it belongs in a Flintstones cartoon. Now let me go over the components. This centerpiece is the armature. It has two hex bolts glued into place in a vertical or horizontal position, depending which way you look at it. The hex bolts have one continuous piece of wire wrapped around. Each bolt has about 80 windings, and the ends of the wire are soldered to these round pieces of copper pipe. Each piece of copper pipe has one end of the wire soldered to it. These round pieces of wire function as the commutators. They allow for the current to reach the bolts. In general, commutators are usually found with brushes, but in this case we used a steel wire. We have two magnets on both sides. They have opposing polarities. For example, that's a north facing magnet and this is a south facing magnet. And lastly, we have this metal shaft running through the armature. This allows the armature to rotate, and the metal shaft is resting on two skateboard bearings. Now, I'm going to explain how all these components work together. The brushes get connected to a battery to complete a circuit. By doing so, we create an electromagnetic field or an EMF. With this EMF, the bolts will produce polarities opposite of each other. So when this is connected to a battery, we created a magnet. As the armature rotates, so will the commutators. The brushes and the commutators are always rubbing against each other, except for that brief moment when the brushes are switching commutators. So there's a small gap between the commutators on both sides. When the brushes switch commutators, the polarity on the bolts also switch. And this produces a chasing and pulling effect. For example, let's say this is a north-facing magnet. The bolt will have a south magnetic polarity, and it will reach the magnet, and as soon as it reaches the magnet, the commutators will switching the polarity of the bolt, which will cause the bolt to have the same polarity as the magnet, which will repel the armature, which will cause it to push away, chasing the other magnet that is attracting it. And as soon as it reaches the other magnet, the polarity switches in the bolts again, pushing it away, and this creates a pushing and chasing effect. which keeps the engine rotating. Now I will try to make this work. Hey, wait.